Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Jorge's Isolation Podcast. Thank you for everybody who has listened and shared. All six of you are angels. And if you've listened to them on repeat, I know I've gotten a few more listens and views. So I've got like 30 views total. You've probably watched them 3 times each. So thank you. And if you're new to the podcast, hi, I'm Jorge Chapa. I've got a very special guest today. It's my very dear friend, Viet Vo. He is Mr. 808 in the Sunshine State. He is one of the hardest workers I know, and I am honored to call him my friend. He is the definition of what we, call hustle and hard work and immigrants getting the job done. When Lin Manuel Miranda he wrote that line, he thought of Viet Vo. So, Mr. Vo, how are we
Sure.
today?
I'm well. How are you, Jorge Francis Tolstoy? Rest be to me.
Engano,
And yes, yes,
Engano,
Engano,
Francis
Engano,
Engano.
Francis Engano. I was
Yeah,
going with that. Yes, Francis Engano, Jorge Chapa.
man, this is like epic. If people, so inside hustle, inside scoop, Viet and we met randomly through Grinder, and just kidding. We met through our work at Equinox, which is basically a Grinder,
It
live
was
version of Grinder. But Viet was the morning guy, morning front desk MOD at Equinox. It's a fancy little gym there in New York in the West Village, and I was the nighttime closing MOD. So we were the bookends that held that place together. And one thing about Viet is this guy. When I say hard work, it seriously, if you think you're working hard, you're not. Viet's working harder than you. He's always doing something. He's either studying for an audition, he's prepping some music, or he's got a performance he's preparing for, or he's got a show, or always something going on. And that's one of the things, man, I admire about you, dude. So
I mean, well, I got to tell you, it's an honor. It's an extreme pleasure to be on this podcast with you. But before we, go any further, I just like to state that uh, Jorge was somebody I competed with in a
we never
very.
competed.
Hold on. If
Just because
anything,
we're bald and handsome doesn't mean nothing.
but he also has a mighty beard. You know how hard it is for me to grow any facial hair on my face? It's like an Asian curse. I can't low pan it, man. I swear to God, I just can't low pan it.
You
Um,
want to know something funny though about Asians?
yeah. What
Um,
about
is that so when I was in grad school, there's this guy is when I'm there was I guess he was about 2 years ahead of me,
him?
and he came up to me one day, and I'm not gonna name any names or say anything, but it's kind of funny. I don't know if it's racist or not, but he's like, "Hey, Jorge, can I ask you something?" And I was like, "What's going on?" And he said, "You live down by the border, right?" And I was like, "Yeah, you're from the border. I'm from the border." And he's like, "Are you like a little Chinese? Like, you have a little Asian in you?" And I said, "No, not that I know of. I'm Mexican." He's like, "Just because your eyes, you have the characteristics of an Asian person." Like, I got this growing up. They would say this, like, "Oh, you look a little like Japanese." I remember one kid at that school program called me Mr. Japan Man. So obviously, it's very low brow here. And he was trying to get to this point where he's like, I was watching this documentary the other day about how they were building the railroads along the border. And a lot of the Chinese, they ended up marrying a lot of Mexican women. And I was just wondering if that happened to you. And I was thinking to myself, at first I thought, where are we going with this about the Chinese thing? Because he might have caught me changing, and like I don't know, like am I looking more Asian than usual? And what is he trying to say? It's like, okay, I've heard this before my whole life, but then he's like, so like, is there any like Asian or Chinese in your ancestry? And I'm like, no, I don't know. Now I don't know. So
Well, I
maybe
mean,
we might be related, Viet.
you know what? I wouldn't put it past it. I mean,
I really hope so.
I hope so too. I'd be honored to share bloodlines with you, sir. It'd be like sharing bloodlines with King Kamehameha of the Hawaiian nation.
Dude, that'd be
Um,
awesome.
and all right, just to have that kind of blood in you. No, well, I mean, you're not actually not off. That Asian actor wasn't really that off about that because um, there have been a lot of interracial mixing during those eras of building the railroads, and
Yeah.
yeah, and it. I mean, there was a lot of many documentaries about how, like, when they were here, it was mostly men. It was
Yeah.
mostly men. So, a lot of the men were there, left all the women back in their homeland, and so they couldn't go back. So what are they gonna do? So they had to survive. They had to, like, continue on life, and then along the way they intermarried into different ethnic groups. I mean,
Yeah.
there have been stories about how there was a Pakistani
Hmm.
traveler who went to New Orleans, and he couldn't go home, so he ended up marrying a black woman, and
Yeah.
now their descendants are alive and well, living in New Orleans, and discovering, oh, they're actually part Asian. I'm like, oh, see,
Yeah.
it's what happens. Plus,
It's
look
so
at Madonna.
fascinating. Huh?
Madonna's nickname. Hello, for all you boxing fans, Madonna. What is he
Yeah.
known as?
What is he? Tell
El
me.
Chinito.
They called me that growing up.
Well,
Sometimes.
still people call me that too, but I'm
I
not.
know all the maintenance workers at Equinox. Chinito.
I don't think there's a Vietnamese for I don't think there's a Spanish word for Vietnamese, because it's like they want
No,
to, like,
because they lump you all in one category.
exactly.
It's
So I
all
mean,
for one, one for all.
they're Guatemalan, they're Ecuadorian,
Well, we're
and
all Mexican.
then we're all.
Yeah, we're all Mexican. It's like, yeah, the Mexican guy working the front desk.
It's
I was
like,
like, all those little Mexicans.
I'm not Mexican, I'm Puerto Rican. Whatever.
No, it's just the
And it's the
tropical
same thing.
Mexican. That's what they
So,
say.
yeah, so it's like they lump you in.
Yeah,
They're like they go buenos dias, Chinito. I'm like, gracias.
Mexicano.
I can't say anything about it because, like, I mean, and then
It's kind of funny. It
it
seems.
is.
I think it's less. This is really awful, but I think it's less hurtful when you hear it from another culture, like, that's not white. Because if a white person from Equinox, usually if they say, "Oh, it's the Chinese guy," whoa, whoa, whoa,
Absolutely.
wait a minute,
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think
that's racist.
that's why growing up in Hawaii, I feel like it's geared me to be very open-minded when it comes to like just the whole race and
Yeah,
stereotypes and such. You go to Hawaii, and part of growing up in Hawaii was you made fun of other ethnicities, but it's because we could laugh at each other.
yeah,
That's how we grew up.
yeah,
I mean, now obviously nowadays, due to cancel culture and being politically correct, you can't make the same jokes anymore, and like,
yeah.
but
I mean, you
Hawaii's,
can. It's just
you can, as long
it,
as you
it,
understand.
it depends on who's saying the joke sometimes, because
Yes.
like we can talk about, if I don't know, there was somebody who did something in blackface, and we can cancel them, but yet Jimmy Kimmel can do blackface as Oprah or Karl Malone, or even do a whole rap song as Snoop Dogg dropping the N-bomb, but we worship Jimmy Kimmel. You know
Oh
what I
yeah.
mean? Like, we're not going to cancel Jimmy Kimmel. Jimmy Kimmel should have lost his show, but they didn't. He
Well,
didn't.
granted, when was that done though? That's another case thing, because a
Doesn't
lot.
matter. People are going back to like the 90s with other people doing
Oh
that.
yeah, but I think that's also part of what's wrong, because now people are canceling things that were in the past, and I'm not saying that's
Yeah.
wrong or right.
Mhm.
It's just we got to be careful, because now we're going after everybody. You heard
Yeah.
about you know about the whole baby it's cold outside, the whole, like, oh, that's rape culture. I'm like, oh my god.
Yeah.
That it's like nothing is
I heard
sacred.
Bill Cosby helped write that song.
Oh yeah, I mean, it was a baby is cool.
Maybe you want some jello pudding?
Lollipops. Oh my
Pudding
god.
bubbles. It's cold outside.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's only 15. We're only a few short bits in here, but already Bill Cosby jokes are out.
Cancel culture. It's
No.
hilarious because we're talking about it and we're making jokes like that. And if someone else were to make a joke like that, we would have been like, whoa, both of us would
Well,
have been like,
well,
excuse me.
excuse me, right? But you have two of the more, if not more, prolific ethnic groups here. You have the Latin and you have the Asian.
Yeah.
You know,
I got to
talk.
tell you what, man, talking about Asians, I grew up in an area where there weren't that many Asians. It's like predominantly growing up, we were just about 95%, Hispanic. It was just Mexicans, and then there's white people, and slowly but surely throughout the late 90s and early 2000s, we had this influx of Filipinos come down here, and they flooded the nursing market. Like it's not a joke, or it's like a joke. Like if like you're Filipino, he's like, oh yeah, they're probably a nurse, and that's a joke. And I try to like say that in New York, and no one got that. And I'm like, oh, is that only like just down here? Because they flooded that market, and only within the like maybe the last 20 years, like since 2001, 2003, we really started getting more culture that so it's not just fully Hispanic. Like now we have some black people here, and now we have a lot of Indian people here, and a lot of Filipinos. And I going up to New York, I was very ignorant to a lot of things about Asians, meaning that we don't normally think about the adversities y'all go through. You know what I mean? In terms of like the industry, like we're always hearing about like, there's not enough black representation or Latino representation. And like working with you, it's really opened up my eyes to say, like, you know what? The only times you would see Asian people in film or in TV were either playing like a triad sort of thing or a martial arts film. You know what I mean? And I really appreciate the fact that you are raising awareness constantly about, the casting choices of Hollywood when it comes to these Asian films. Truly. I mean, like sometimes it's like, okay, Viet, settle down. But then like I'm thinking like, no, no, no. Why? Why are we thinking that an Asian person can't play this? You know what I mean? And truly like what knowing that going into this business, like do you feel like this is like something that's going to be remedied at some point, or do you see some changes happening, or because like I like truly like seriously, like there's been times since working with you, especially there's been like a lot of things. First, there's like the Asian diversity, like the casting of Asian people, and not just like Asian as in like Japanese or Chinese, because they also have a huge market. I'm talking about everyone else, because there's also Indian people, there's also Vietnamese people, there's also Filipinos, there's Malaysians, like there's all different sorts of cultures in Asia. I mean, Russia is considered Asian too, you know what I mean? And it's just kind of like that's one thing that you've opened my eyes to that I never really thought of, and I don't think a lot of people down here would really think about that, like the adversity that you would have like going in for parts. And also how wonderful Hawaii is. And I've never thought about going to Hawaii until I worked with you and Tex and Sean and every other person from Hawaii. So, I mean, what do you, what, like you're a constant soldier for the cause for Asian casting. Like, and I'm start like in the last, since we've known each other, there's been some big moves, but do you feel like that's a march in the right direction, or do you think it's going to stop, or do you think what?
Well, I mean, definitely. So, just to give some people, some of your audience members feedback, that I've been in New York for 13 years, originally
Yeah.
from Hawaii, and I moved out here because I obviously I wanted to know the true craft of acting. Nothing against people who live in LA. I love LA.
You don't have to apologize for LA. I came to New
I
York for the exact same reason. LA, it just you're pretty, and you go
Yes,
to
you're pretty.
LA.
But LA is like that girlfriend, and this is I wholeheartedly apologize for what I'm about to say. LA is that girlfriend that she's great. She's everything you want, but don't
She-
know there's no substance.
She's all looks.
Exactly.
Yeah.
New York is that girlfriend that you were destined to be with, and that gives you substance, that gives you breath, that gives you life, that gives you a reason to want to continue a relationship.
She's that girlfriend that you constantly fight with. You break up and get back together. You break up and get back together, but you love her.
Absolutely. It
Yeah.
you know New York and you are literally when Harry met Sally.
I like
Mm,
that.
yeah.
Cat's
Uh,
Deli.
but as far in regards to your question, it I definitely have seen a bit of a shift. Not a great one, but still a pretty big step comparatively. But I can't. I'm only speaking from my generation as compared to the generations before me that I've talked to a lot about this. Um, in the last decade, I've seen a pretty good shift.
Yeah.
Right now, I think it's starting to. I feel like it's starting to slow down a little bit, but there are some things that are picking up here and there.
Yeah.
Um, people like Kelly Marie Tran and recently
Hmm.
a gentleman I had the good fortune of meeting was True Tran.
Oh,
She played
dude, Monsterland.
Monsterland.
I
Um,
love that episode.
okay, can I tell you? This guy, I first saw. Okay, so I didn't realize I've seen him before. He was
Hmm.
in Tropic Thunder. He was in a
Hmm.
multitude of films. But the thing that stood out about him when I saw him in Altered Carbon as he wasn't just. It could be easily an easy thing to cast an Asian person in this role as an assassin, but
Hmm.
he was more than an assassin. If you've ever seen Altered Carbon, he played an assassin with a religious setup where he would walk up to his victims and goes, "Are you a believer?"
Hmm.
And he murdered them. And he didn't just murder them, he fucking tore them apart. And
Yeah,
so I
it's
said,
like
"Who
those
is
kids at Columbine.
oh moment of silence, please?"
Low brow.
Gosh. I was gonna try to go something else with Virginia Tech, but that was done by a Korean person, and
Yikes!
that that
This is the episode that's getting canceled.
oh, absolutely, and that was by an Asian guy. Do you think how funny bad it was when I used to joke about I'm gonna shoot up the place, and then it was Virginia Tech, and I'm like,
Yeah, no, you can't say that anymore.
no, absolutely not,
It's
and
no
that
longer postal workers that do it. Kids.
no, no, and that used to be a thing in the '90s where like even sketch comedy made jokes about how like the postal workers are registering for M16s. No,
Yeah.
so Hu Tran was in the episode of Monsterland, set in uh,
Texas.
Texas. And I walked up to him and I said, sir, I gotta let you know, I've seen your work in Ultra Carbon. And I thought you were phenomenal. And he's such a gracious guy. And we talked, and
Yeah.
we talked about being Vietnamese in this industry.
Yeah.
So, anyways, point of matter I'm saying is there have been a rise of new faces in this industry that I hope to see more of. Kelly Marie Tran,
Hmm.
Drew Tran, Henry Golding. I mean, man, that guy is
He's a
actually killing it
stud.
right. He's killing it right now.
He's a
He was
stud.
in a romantic comedy with Amelia Clark.
Yeah.
Like,
He's a stud.
yeah.
Yeah.
Now Harry Shum Jr. from the
Glee.
from
Wasn't he in Glee?
he was in Glee. He was in was he in Glee? I don't
He
remember
was
because
a he's a dancer.
yes, but I never watched Glee, but I know him from obviously from other previous things. Dude, he was in Step Up 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, yeah. So he's doing a new movie with an interracial romantic comedy. So there's a bit of a growth here, but
Yeah.
not as significant as it been in the last. Granted, Crazy Rich Asian was a huge step, but now I feel like it's starting to. But obviously, right now, due to the climate, right now, everything's slowing
Yeah.
down in general. But yeah, to answer your question plainly, there is growth. Not as much as we'd like to see, but there is growth nonetheless.
There's still growth, but I also feel, and this is the issue I have with we the brown and black actors. I think wrote a letter. No, producers wrote a brown and black producers. Was it? Yeah, or showrunners wrote a letter to the guild or somebody saying, you know what, you can't have our stories without our voices.
Mm,
And I really appreciate that, but here's the thing that I don't want to happen, and I can see that happening with the Asian population or Indians, is that you want and you fight for these opportunities for your own shows or your own stories. Are studios or companies like Netflix and Hulu just gonna like get something together, rush it, just get it out so they can feel good about themselves and say, "Hey, here you go. We got you a show for you." And it's just half-assed. You know what I mean? Or like kind of like generic characters and you're out to fend for yourself, or it's just really rushed because I don't want to say, "Hey, you know what? I want a whole story about, a South Texas Mexican family." And it's just about a car shop, you know what I mean? Or like a taqueria. And it's just like, come on. Like, yes, we eat tacos. Yes, there are car shops everywhere, but our whole lives aren't around that. Like, that's not everybody's story. There are lawyers, there are doctors, and we have stories. It's just like you guys, like, the whole Asian population. Like when you talk about that story on Monsterland about that catch, and it's the mermaid story. What a lot of people don't know, and what I really appreciated about that, was in Texas around the coast, like Rockport, Fulton, and all that area, like where that wind was from. um
that
there's a
wind.
huge Vietnamese population, fishermen.
Yep.
They brought those skills over to America. Huge.
Mhm.
He even has a restaurant. It's called Who Dat.
I know. I heard
Who
about
Dat.
who that. I'm like perfect. And thank you for much for pointing that out.
I love
I
it.
got I got the very good fortune of spending 2 months in Houston, and once again, my ignorance, because ignorance means not that you're stupid, it's you're uninformed, and I
Yeah.
was very ignorant to the Vietnamese community out in Houston, which
Yeah.
opened up to more. And I didn't realize Houston is the second largest Vietnamese population in the United States,
Yes,
first
dude.
being California. And so yeah, so the episode, it takes place down in the Gulf area where there's are many Vietnamese fishermen who were children of refugees who
Mm-hmm.
came to Vietnam during the era of the Vietnam conflict. And that story, I actually talked to Drew, and I said that was very intelligent. That was very
Mm-hmm.
smart, very well thought out. Kudos to the writers. And he goes,
Yeah.
yeah, and they wrote that in 2019. So this is before, and I was like, wow.
Mm-hmm.
Kudos to the writers. I forgive me, I did not look up the names beforehand, but kudos to them for
Yeah.
doing such great justice to work on that. They if they could piece things together like that about more POC and more ethnic groups, that'd be great. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, there is a very strong. I did not know this, but there's a very strong Saudi um, community out in LA. I mean,
Yeah. Dude. Yeah.
Bravo did a whole reality
The
series.
Shaws of Sunset.
Exactly, exactly. And
Mm-hmm.
then you look around in Jersey. There's a Pakistani. There's a in Patterson, New Jersey. I
Mm-hmm.
believe it's. And I say Pakistani. I think I meant Peruvian. Peruvian culture. They
Mm-hmm.
have this. They have like huge festivals. I didn't know Patterson, New Jersey had a huge Peruvian.
Jersey City has Little India, and
Yeah,
like it's just a ton of Indian folks, and
yeah.
it's you know here's the thing too. It's like in Jersey City at the movie theater there at the mall, they would have Indian movies like Bollywood movies or like actual movies from India playing
Oh,
at the movie theater. So you can have like Avengers Infinity War in one theater, and then you have an Indian movie. So the populations are there when you have Asian, Indian, or I'm going to lump India, in his own little world because they're so huge and they have
yeah.
so many people. And Hispanic, it's like the whole Latino population is like we have voices too that need to be heard. And it's not to demonize white folk. I don't want to like go around and demonize white folk, but like seriously, like we've seen enough stories about, you know,
Mhm.
Becky's and Chad's, you know what I mean? Like,
Right.
we don't need another Gossip Girl. We don't need that sort of reboot in the world. We
Well,
truly don't.
on that note, I gave my so I'm seeing somebody. Tell the world. This is my first time admitting this to the world, but
Um,
she's from Houston.
I didn't know about this yet. This is really awkward.
Hold on, hold on. It's gonna be all right. You're still my number two. Don't worry about it.
Well, as
Um,
long as I'm your number two.
your number my number two.
Your
Deuces.
poop.
She was watching they did another Jane Austen remake, and I literally went on a rant with her. I go, why?
Yeah.
Why do we need to see another Jane Austen thing? And she goes, babe, it's okay. It's a good book. It's a good author. I'm like,
Yeah,
no,
they are. It is good, but
it's
we've
good,
seen it
but
how many times?
we don't need four versions of Jane Austen stories.
Mm-mm. Let them
Like,
sleep.
let him
Yeah.
let him give him 10 years, then we'll go back to that. There's so many other authors out there that, like, so many authors. I'm glad, I'm happy about Fences, for case an example, Fences. When I saw that in
Mm-hmm.
the theaters,
Mm-hmm.
I saw that at a preview. Excuse me, I saw that
Mm-hmm.
at a preview. You know, there's something very magical when you have a
Mm-hmm.
POC author writing the script. It's so rich, it's so raw, it's so honest.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's so much voices out there but that's the thing, right? We talk about the industry.
Yeah.
It's very neat, it's very deep
Yeah.
in the industry. You just have to change out the backbone in order to get a new body.
Yeah, sometimes you do, and it's also, when it came down to Broadway, the TV is one thing. It's moving in such a different direction now. There's more
Yeah.
opportunity. There's still a little of like wonky casting where like you'll see an Asian or Latino in the group, and it just feels a little forced. You know what I mean? Like, oh,
Yeah.
we got to meet our quota.
Oh yeah.
There's still some shows that really, you know, try to like beat you
Yeah.
over the head with that. But for the most part, I think a lot of things are getting cast accordingly. And the one thing is like in on Broadway, how many shows are really geared toward the Asian persuasion? No. We had what was it called? Miss Saigon, right?
Hmm.
Hamilton, thankfully, is just, blind casting, the,
Hmm.
color blind casting, which is beautiful. So we
Yep.
finally see some more Asian faces on and Latino and black on Broadway. But what else is there?
I mean, there's the ever big, there's the Miss Saigon, there's the King and I.
Which
There,
already played? Are they going to just keep doing those same two over and over again?
well, that's unfortunately that's because of just the powers that be. It's known shows, but recently in the last several years we've had a pretty good push on new pieces.
Like
Uh,
K-pop?
K-pop was one.
Was it Kim? What's his name? David Kim?
That one was no. You think David Henry Huang?
No, 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 no. Who wrote K-pop?
Uh my gosh, my friends are gonna kill me for this.
I went to grad school with him.
Um,
Dude, I'm really I feel awful for
I
not
know.
remembering.
Listen, I feel awful. I'm the one
We went.
that's supposed to know. But no, but yeah, K-pop, and
Mhm.
then David Henry Huang did
Yeah.
a a play with music in it called Soft Power that was at the Public, and it
Hmm.
was a very meta show about how um you know oh my gosh, I can't even explain Soft Power. If you've seen it, you would know. But
Hmm.
they flipped a lot of like well-known Asian musicals and made it all about being the opposite. So
Yeah.
yeah, I can't. That's a lot to digress about.
No.
And then I was very fortunate to in like 3 years ago I saw Viet Gone at MTC, and that was a
Yeah.
show that really rocked my world. And that's the show I did in Houston.
Yeah.
Uh, and would
I was so happy for you when you booked that. You got that? 'Cause I remember when you saw that show, when you first saw that show, you would not stop talking about it. You were so excited about it. It really hit close to home for you because of
yes,
what your family went through during that time in, the Vietnam War and, your parents, escaping. Didn't they escape on a boat?
yeah, escaped on a boat that my dad built.
Yeah. It's a fascinating story. You ended up in Hawaii and it's just, like it just a testament to like, hard work. And it's just like um a I don't want to say like it's a beautiful story, but it's just also tragic that your family was forced to leave because of the conflict. And but at the same time, if they hadn't have left, you wouldn't have gone to Hawaii, and then you wouldn't have come to New York, and then we wouldn't have met. You know
Right.
what I mean?
I mean, what life and what story is without its conflict and its turmoil?
Exactly. Yeah.
You know, every culture, every person, what makes them who they are today is because of the turmoil and the conflict that they were put through.
Yeah.
To answer your question, it was uh, Jason Kim.
Jason Kim. Jason Kimmy.
Jason
Yes.
Kim wrote
Yeah.
K-pop.
Yes. He went to my grad school. He was a year ahead of me.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's. I mean, I never got to see K-pop. Uh, I have a lot of people. My friends are looking at me like, "What's wrong with you?" I'm like, "Well," but K-pop was a fascinating journey about like the dark side of the K-pop
Yeah.
industry. And
Hmm.
it took audience members on a ride and showed them like there's the happy side, what you see, but what you don't see on the underbelly, which is kind of the same to say about a lot of industries, especially the music industry in America. It's the same.
Oh man, and it's getting dirtier and dirtier. You see what happened to Taylor Swift?
Yeah, I mean, it's also I feel the same way about Justin Bieber. Apparently,
Yeah.
there's something going around about him and his how he was like mentally abused by a lot of the industry folk.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
yeah, no, definitely. If he was, yeah, he was definitely probably abused. That's why he's
yeah,
probably as messed up as he is. But yeah, with Taylor Swift, she wrote all of those songs when she was a kid, right?
hmm,
And Scooter Braun, who's Bieber's manager, bought all that stuff, wouldn't let her
oh,
have it. Then
mhm,
he sold it to someone else, and now
yep,
she can't have it.
yep,
That's so awful. I mean, you could think about whatever you want about Taylor Swift. I think she's talented. Am I a super fan? No, I'm not. I'm not a Swiftie or whatever they call them. But like if you write your own music, if you do that, and happens to a lot of artists, dude.
oh yeah,
It's so sad. Like it's. I didn't realize that the music industry is that bad.
oh it's the same thing with American
Man.
Idol, dude. If
Oh
you
yeah, dude. Yeah.
like I a little dark secret of mine was I auditioned for American Idol when they were in Hawaii, and I never made past the first audition. But what I found out through the grapevine, through several people who did go on to LA, was previous seasons they would never sign you. But as soon as you make it to LA, they're the for the round before they put you on to like the next round,
Hmm.
they immediately sign you to a contract
Yeah.
that anything you produce in that time frame, it belongs to American the producers of American Idol. I was like,
Yes.
what?
Well, that's
So
why a lot of them don't do anything past American Idol.
no, because they're bound for
Yeah.
like so they know that they can't create anything because they know they'll never own it, or they wait until the contract is up, or they
Yeah. And
or
by then, like what? You've lost your steam. You don't have the connections.
right,
And
exactly,
they're basically hijacking your time in the industry.
absolutely. And then thanks to American Idol, we have gems such as Constantine.
Is that guy wasn't he in like one of those little teeny bop shows?
Oh no, his I don't know what teeny bop show he was, but he was in Rock of Ages, and that was his rise, and then now I heard he's a producer.
Do you remember O Town?
Oh, how could I forget?
So when remember so O Town they had whatever Liquid Dreams, I think that's what it was, or something like that. I don't
Yeah,
remember what
yeah,
song it was. They had like kind of dismantled, and like all those guys were kind of just out of work
yep,
singers. And then Ashley Parker Angel, who was part of O Town, he had his own show on HBO, or not HBO, on
MTV.
MTV,
Yeah,
where he's trying to make a comeback. And that guy was just like, you know, just a struggling guy. And he ended
yeah.
up on Broadway like 2 years ago, 3 years ago. I saw him in the Wicked. He was Fiero.
Oh, it was one of those contracts. Okay, got it.
Yes. It's like Chicago, where like I think they sign anybody to play what's his name?
Billy
The
Flynn
Billy
and
Flynn, yeah.
Roxy. Yeah,
Yeah. They'll,
it's
they'll
kind of like,
sign anybody.
oh yeah. Well, I mean,
Eddie
it,
George, the football player, was Billy Flynn for a
really?
short stint. Yes, dude.
How did I miss that?
Oh man, because they're signing a new Billy Flynn every like 6 weeks, like every like few weeks.
Right.
Crazy.
I know Brandy was on that show too,
Yeah, yeah.
and then
And then Rogelio de la Vega from from Jane the Virgin. Jaime
really?
Camille, he was in there for a little bit too. Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, dude. So we might be able to be on Broadway as
How do
Billy
how
Flynn
do
at
we
some
get to
point.
that status so we can be on a rotating cast?
Yeah, I don't know, man. I want to. If I knew, I'd be there, and we could rotate.
There we go.
Like I don't get like I mean the industry is weird. Like you and I both know the industry is weird. Like you and I have seen people come up and just like shoot to fame out of nowhere. You know what I mean? And then there's those that hustle and hustle and hustle, and then you're like, why aren't they doing more? You know what I mean? Like it's a weird industry. Um,
Or people we know that were considered diverse, but they weren't.
I mean, it happens. you
I'm
know,
not gonna mention that. I'm not gonna say who, but like it's there are people who play up their so-called diversity, but they're not really diverse.
yeah.
They're
My name is really George Chapman.
yes, my name is really Victor Vo.
Thompson.
Victor Thompson. The
You're just
famous
playing the Viet Vo.
well, somebody told me like, oh, if I ever became a drag queen, my name should be Yvette Vo, but Vo would be spelled Veaux, like very French.
That
And
would be great. And you have like a big boa.
yeah, exactly. But I told him like I already had a drag name. My drag name was Moist Towelette.
I don't know what mine be.
Well, they say what is it? They say that how you find your porn name is the name of your first pet in the street you lived on.
Huh.
So you would make a variation of that. So what is your porn name, Jorge?
Bubba Fresno.
Wow, that's pretty good.
It's pretty good. It sounds like a hillbilly.
But I
With
mean,
the heart of gold. It's like the mullet, but it's bald on top. You know what I mean?
the reverse.
With
I
the
call it
beard, yeah.
the reverse Bolton.
It's kind of like what's his name? Kenny Powers.
Kenny Powers.
But bald with the
Oh my
mullet.
god. I got
Man,
I got Lucky Kamakini. I mean,
really?
how Hawaiian does that sound?
Oh, that sounds awesome though.
Yeah,
I would watch those videos.
I wouldn't. I would actually pay you, and then
To
ask you.
watch those videos, I would pay you.
No, no,
Um,
workout.
well, I mean, we did do some NSFW work as sirloin, remember? My kids are gonna be pissed at me.
Oh man, that was a long night, and
My kids are gonna come home from school one day. Anna Pao's gonna be at school. She's gonna come home and she's gonna be pissed at me. And I'm gonna pick her up and she's gonna be like, I'm like, hey, sweetie, how was school? She's like, ugh, don't talk to me. I'm like, what? She's gonna be like, how could you?
good question for the. This is a very good question for you, sir.
Yeah.
Like, are you at now that I mean you are a proud father of a
Yeah.
very darling child. Are
Mhm.
you a little afraid of the things that you did before you had a child? That some of the things that you done like
Like karma or like shit's gonna
project
pop back up?
project wise, are you concerned that maybe that you're one day your child's gonna find it?
Um, I don't know, man. Like, I don't know if I've done anything that's really like, uh, I don't know. I mean, sirloin is definitely something I really need to talk to her about.
Are
It's
you
gonna.
are you sure it wasn't that bad?
I mean, it's got Ian's abs, Jared's ass. And it's got
Stan's
it's
Stan's
got Q dry humping the floor and then stand
dry
flex.
humping the floor. Yes,
So we've got Andy Cohen's bartender
yes. Andy
trainer.
Cohen. He's actually known as Andy Cohen's bartender. He doesn't go by Stan anymore.
Really? It
No,
changed his license. It's like,
yes.
but okay, you want to know how ahead of the game I was in like sirloin?
What?
If you go back and rewatch it, I might even just post it there. Just get that video more views. I don't care. Tom on the wall. We representing still. You know what? I was ahead of the game when I wrote that script because there was a line in there where the guys are coming in after doing the pony, where everyone's grinding and giving some eye candy, and they walk in and I think it's like Ian says something like, man, we were good tonight. And then Jared says, yeah, this is better than that Republican convention we did. And then Stan, what is his line? He says, yeah, they love Russians.
Oh my
This was
gosh, you're
before the
right.
Trump election. This was before 2016. I said, yeah,
That's right.
they love Russians. Before all that Russian collusion talk, I called it. I'm the new Simpsons.
You're the new Mac Groening.
I am Matt Groening.
Oh my God, you're Jorge Groening. That's what it is.
Yeah, I'm always groaning when I wake up in the morning. I'm an old
You're
man.
groaning Choppa. You're groaning
Yeah,
Choppa.
I'm a groaning boy.
Wow, that's right. I do remember that line.
Yeah,
Holy crap.
dude, I was just, I was a visionary.
Okay, so that's something to be proud of. Then don't
Heck
shame
yeah.
yourself.
I'm
I
not. So that's what I'll like. So going back to your question about me like having to explain stuff to my daughter, I'll just I don't know. Let's turn it around and say, look, I was calling out as being political here, and sometimes you have to break a few eggs to make an omelet.
maybe a whole tray. Um,
Yeah, and I broke your eggs in that too.
yes, I was actually gonna. That was my segue. Great segue, by the way. Great segue. I was gonna say. I don't think my nuts survived that night. There were about. I lost count how many takes there were. How many takes were
I'm so
there?
sorry about that.
Oh, it's cool. It's
I
fine.
was just feeling it. I was just
No,
feeling it.
you
I was
definitely were
feeling it.
feeling it. All right, you definitely were
No,
feeling it. I was feeling it too, and
I'm
it hurt.
sorry.
No, don't
Yeah,
be sorry. It's good. It was for the art of it. I mean,
yeah.
we've all done things for the art of it, especially for comedy. But I think I lost track about what maybe after five, I lost count of how many times I got nut checked.
Well, luckily we have ice machine.
There was an ice machine.
Yeah, and the juice bar.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
that
ice
that
maker.
that was during the era of a great era, I must say, of our time at the club, as you will. Um, the era I would like to call as Fustin Jolie.
Dude, it's HR wasn't a thing. I mean, it was,
Um,
I just here's the thing. Here's what I loved about that era was that people could take jokes at that point. We could
yeah,
joke around a certain way, and I'm not like if you're watching or listening, don't think that we're just like going around like smoking cigars and slapping women on the bottoms or
no.
just being mean to each other. Like it was just like everybody dished out jokes, and we were just mean. It was like we were like just a bunch of college frat boys that were just diverse, actually, and
Actually, and
it was a really.
that's a funny thing you should say that. I
Mhm.
mean, most times when they portray frat boys, they're always white. Um,
White.
but they never. I would love to see a series with a bunch of
Because
serial
if they were Mexican, they'd be a gang. That's what they would do. That's how TV sees us.
or if it was a bunch of Asian guys, it would be a
You'd
triad.
be on motorcycles, like on like
I would be on motorcycles.
yeah,
Exactly.
or like Tokyo drifting. That's what they see.
Yeah,
Or
that's
what are those
fine.
like? What is it? Suzuki's or Hondas with
Right. And
spoilers?
we have swords on our backs or swords
Oh,
possibly
oh
in our.
my God, Viet! I thought about you one time, and I don't even know if I ever told you this. This happened like 5 years ago.
Okay.
Okay, thanks for reminding me.
Uh,
So I was walking home in Jersey City, and I don't know if you remember my first apartment in Jersey City or wherever. You know the area,
yeah.
basically, right? Dude, there's this like long walk on
Yeah.
on on Bergen,
Yeah. Hmm.
and I was walking home in the afternoon. It was like 2 in the afternoon, right? And this guy was walking by, and this guy had a katana over his back, unsheathed. And he would go, and every few seconds, he would take it around like a legit katana.
Question for you.
Yeah.
What was he white?
No, he's black.
Oh,
It's awesome. It's like Blade.
you know what's fascinating about that? Okay, one, I was surprised it was a black person,
Hmm.
um, but it's not uncommon because when I was growing up in Hawaii, I remember
Hmm.
I had the bus to work and school,
Hmm.
and one day I got on the bus and this gentleman pulls in full kung fu gi,
Amazing.
buff and shredded to. I could tell through the silk. It was there, and
Mm.
he had a bag full of weapons, and I'm like, where is he off to? I feel like this. I thought it could have been it. I felt like he had a Michael Jai White vibes.
Mm.
But that's a common thing.
Not like Bruce Leroy.
It could have
Kiss
been.
my Converse.
It could be Bruce Leroy if Bruce Leroy
Shogun of Harlem.
only did arms and leg
Yeah.
and body.
Yeah. Jail
Yeah.
muscles. That's what they call it. Jail muscles.
I never heard of it. It's called.
Yeah, because in jail you can only do, push-ups, pull-ups, sit-ups for the most part. You can't do squats, bro.
Well, there's the rec area, right?
I mean, it depends what kind of crimes you commit and what state you're in.
Oh, that's true. You're right.
I had an uncle who was in jail and he had like cable, but that was a federal crime.
Oh,
So if you're
well,
going to commit any kind of crime, make sure it's a white collar.
well.
Yeah, you want to do some kind of like tax evasion or some kind of like Medicare fraud
Buddy,
because you get the
there
good
is no such
jail.
thing as white collar crimes for POCs, man.
Oh, well, I mean, I can
Unless
argue that.
unless you're the Mendez brothers.
Yeah, those
I'm,
bastards.
I'm throwing that one back for
I
those.
actually have that basketball card where they're in the basketball card the night or two before they murdered their parents.
You really?
Yeah, dude.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I have
I
two of
hope
them.
I have you. I hope you have them in a
It's in my
frame.
safe. Yeah.
That's it.
Hmm. Legit, dude.
Oh man, that's gonna be like yo man, did you find any money? Nah, I found these basketball cards. Man.
Menendez brothers
Oh,
cards.
these brothers, who are these guys? Why
Well,
is
they're
it
they're
so-
sitting in the audience. Oh man, I'm blanking on the name. I have the cards. I'll show them when I get them. But they're in my safe. My dad got them for me.
And how'd you spot them out?
It popped up on the internet and it's like, look, this is like the Menendez brothers. The night or two before they killed their parents.
Jeez,
It's crazy, right?
that's very crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, that would be. I mean, they didn't do a hard time. They're still in prison, I believe, right?
Yeah, I think one of them got married.
To the lawyer, right?
I don't remember, man.
Oh, all I remember of that trial was that the lawyer was held in contempt for stroking his hair during the court, and I'm like, during court proceedings, and I'm like,
Like a little puppy.
yeah, that was.
Calm down, baby.
She was like stroking, and I'm like, lady, you are old enough to be Martha Washington. What are you doing, touching his head?
Man, Martha Washington would be like 300 years old.
Yeah,
Dude, there's some. Speaking of which, how's Equinox? There's some old members there.
Oh yeah, we well, the climate with Equinox now is it's less, and so we don't have a lot of our usuals and our favorites, but there are a few of them are coming back, which is great.
So here's what I was remembering in the
Okay.
timeline. Was it the last year? When was it when the CEO of Related Properties held that luncheon or that for Donald Trump, the fundraiser?
Oh, it wasn't a CEO. It was one of the board members.
Yeah.
Um, something Ross, Jeffrey, not Jeffrey
Je-
Ross. Jeffrey
yeah,
Ross is a comedian.
yeah.
Um, you know who I'm talking about, right?
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah. This was
Was it a
last.
year ago?
It was a year ago, actually. Yeah, yeah.
So, for everyone watching and listening, this board member of Related Properties, Equinox, was owned by Related Properties or is owned by Related Properties. This one business person decided to hold a fundraiser for Donald J. Trump. And as soon as the public caught wind of that, a shitstorm was created in the Equinox, the Equiverse, and such influential voices like Chrissy Teigen and Billy on the Street decided to chime in and say, cancel your Equinox memberships. Do it now, because they support a fascist and all this. And not they did so not thinking about the repercussions it has for the actual people that needed these jobs, that they didn't think that this would affect. And their excuses were like, they can get work somewhere else. Well, guess what? People still haven't recovered from that. And now it's even worse.
Yeah.
So when you are sitting in your high horse in this beautiful mansion or
Andy
nice
Cohen.
apartment, yeah, and you're saying, hey, we're going to cancel this and we're going to use our power to cancel this, when you already have the money to do this, and not thinking about the workers. Because it's not just, the CEOs that are going to get docked from the pay. They're not going to lose the money because they've got other investments. It's people that work the front desk, it's people that do the maintenance, that need the work, the trainers that have the clients that depend on this, that need the insurance, especially, in these unprecedented times that we didn't even know was going to happen a few months after this. And you guys were just taking calls and threats and being yelled at. Like, what was that like, man? Like, how, like, did you feel like, yes, none of us are huge fans of Donald Trump, but it comes to a point, is like, so who's acting more like a child here? You know what I mean?
That's so funny that you brought that up, because if there was ever a case example of how council culture was blown out of proportion and no one gave any thought of the repercussions, it was that incident.
Mhm.
It was the fact that you had a lot of influential voices, including one Andy Cohen, who was a member and then canceled his membership, and then is
Went on
by
social media and
on
everything,
social media and talked about it. He joins the New York Sports Club and then he quits it
and
after a
comes back.
while. It comes back to Equinox. At the end of the day, what a lot of people didn't realize was like, yeah, you can cancel Equinox all you want, but you're not giving any thought to the people who work there. And
Exactly.
now I'm sure there are many people out there who would say like, well, it's a horrible company. I go, but yeah, but there are also people who work there.
Yeah.
You think about the human aspect of it. You can cancel culture a celebrity. You can cancel culture
Mhm.
a sports person, but you're gonna cancel culture a company that employs people who need a job. And if you say they can find another job, clearly you already have a job that you're comfortable with.
It's like this. They went and they said, you know what? We're going to cancel Equinox. We're going to cancel culture Equinox because you are going to work. You're supporting a fascist dictator, which is not true. He's just an idiot.
Absolutely
He's
not.
just a big moron.
Yeah.
But, um, but we're going to do this in a way where we're going to post this on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. We're going to write everything, log it, vlog it, do whatever through our Mac PCs, through our Apple phones, and all those devices that rely on slave labor in Asian countries, and avoid paying
Wow.
taxes as well. So we're
Wow.
gonna go ahead and we're gonna say, you know what, I'm gonna use my iPhone, and we're gonna say, you know what, we hate these fascist dictators because they're they're all supporting a fascist. Well, how is Apple innocent of that? They're not even paying their people to make the phones that you're using here.
Mhm.
They're using slave labor. It's ridiculous.
Also,
It's such
if you're gonna
hypocrisy.
right, and if you're gonna count, and somebody pointed out to me something very poignant. A member who is from Europe,
Mhm.
and he Europeans, I love them. I love Europeans because they see things in ways like Europe is like that late 30 something year old person that's been through it all, but now just sits back and watches everybody do stupid things.
Yeah.
America is that teenager that's, or not even teenager now. America is that 21-year-old TikTok influencer who's
The dick
who's doing
wigglers.
all the things they want to do.
Yeah.
Case in point, if you're going to cancel Equinox, you got to cancel Shake Shack, Target,
Hmm.
Amazon.
Yeah, Walmart.
Um, what else? There was another poignant. Yeah, there's so many
Walmart.
companies that. I'm sorry.
Walmart.
Walmart, cancel them all, but you're
Yeah.
not going to. And you're very good point, George, Jorge. Um, like you go by both.
Yeah.
Good,
When
very
it
good point.
depends if I'm in trouble with my wife.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh. See, they can't really say that, do that with my name because it's just Viet.
Yeah. But it's like Viet.
Actually, well, there's a joke to that with Asian cultures. No, but case in point, you're right. You're doing it from the platform of an item, a product that is the epitome of like
Dictatorships.
dictatorship
Fascism.
capitalism.
Yeah.
Exactly. So dude. I ever tell you I never told you this, but the doors are wide open because there was a delivery coming through, and you know how the front door looks. Which, by the way, it's
Yeah.
changed a lot. So
Yeah. I need to ask you about now because of COVID, but like, yeah, you keep going. I got.
oh yeah. So we were at the front desk, and getting bombarded with phone calls from people saying I'm canceling cancel my membership. To that point, I was numb. I'm like, okay, sure, whatever. I mean, like, I'm not gonna fight
Do
you
it.
on it.
Yeah.
Do whatever you want. This guy walks by. Um, I'm not gonna describe because I'm gonna just I'm gonna give your audience members just a thought of this. This gentleman walks by and goes, "Fuck Equinox," and he walks by, and I'm like, "What was that?" Um, One of my coworkers goes, "Oh, it was just some guy saying fuck Equinox." I go, "Was he a member?" And he was like, "No, why?" I go, "Oh, then it doesn't matter."
Yeah.
Yep, and that was
That's
for
what
me.
they do that.
Yeah, they can do, but that was a very good lesson to a lot of the young folk we at the front desk. They're like, you see that happen? You see me blinking my like batting an eyelash about that? No.
Mhm.
At the end of the day, they can do all they want. You know what's really fascinating though? Within 2-3 weeks of people putting in their cancellations, they all started coming back.
Yeah, because they like their Keels products
Oh,
and their steam room encounters and all that fun stuff. See, I can say that. You can't say that. You still work there. I don't.
well, I will tell you a story. Oh well, you and I have had like epic stories of people who pump lotion and product into plastic bags and
Yeah, that's awesome.
it's as soon as we opened up, it already happened again, and we're like, oh my gosh, but this time we found out who it was, so we were like, we
Yeah,
can't do that.
that's
So for those
so
of you,
amazing.
so those of you
It's
listening,
basically what they do is kind of like when you what is that thing like when you put the frosting on the cake? You know those little bags? What do
oh
they call
yeah,
those? So they do that with Keels products with
yeah,
Ziploc bags. They fill them up and then just cut it and go.
mm-hmm, absolutely. Just for for your listeners to know, I'm sure they're aware. The rich stay rich by doing
Weird stuff.
pretty sleazy, skeezy things, man.
Yeah.
Like, I
Or
mean,
just
I
people are just freaking weird.
absolutely. I
Yeah.
can tell you. I can even say that most. What is it? When we were working together, and I'll say this. I don't care. Most of the thefts that happen at Equinox were done by other members.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
they were. And it was almost they didn't even need it. Like it's one of those things like they had the money to
Yeah.
buy things. They
Mhm.
just I don't know if it was just like the thrill of things. Oh man.
It's kind of like I call it the Winona Ryder syndrome.
Yeah.
Um, it was constant, and even the shop when the shop was shoplifted, it was
Hmm.
lifted by members.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
it's a sick psychological thing with these. I'm not grouping everybody all the members of
No,
Equinox.
not all. And there's some sweet members. I've made some friends that I still keep
Right.
in touch with.
Good.
You know,
Right. Exactly.
long after that I've left, and then there's some that actually have like influenced me in my career. Actually my current manager is a member, you know what I mean? Like it's just like, like it's one of those things. And I've met a lot of great people there. And I also got to say, like, dude, good for you for sticking, to it and being there at Equinox. There was some days where it really, really ate at my soul. And then
Mhm.
there's some days where it just fulfilled me,
Yeah.
so much because I met such amazing people. My coworkers were like family. That's one of the most beautiful things, and one of the things I miss the most when I'm not there at Equinox is that it was like family. Whether it was the trainers, the maintenance, like we're just one big dysfunctional family. And I looked forward to being at work because of the team.
Yeah.
There was some days where it's kind of like I can imagine like you is like, oh gosh, people are going to be calling in today, canceling about this, or like we knew the pool was going to be closed for like a week, so or it's Memorial or Labor Day weekend, so we're closing the gym at 6. No one ever told me it's closing at 6, even though there's signs everywhere that says we're closing at 6. There's those things, but at the end of the day, like I will always look back at that experience working at Equinox and just cherish those moments because, man, I learned a lot. I learned how to be a better human being, and I learned, um, you know, just the hustle. Like when I was feeling tired, like I said, I said this at the beginning. I was like, when I would feel tired and I'm like, man, I just can't do it. And then I see you come in and you're studying till like 11 o'clock at night, and you've been up since 4 in the morning, and you worked your shift. You went and did some other shift at some other place. Then you did a rehearsal, and then you're coming back and studying lines. And then you got to wake up at 4 in the morning the next morning, and you do it over and over and over again. That's inspirational, and that's like motivational, and that's like the work ethic that a lot of kids need. Do you know what I
I,
mean? Like, how
I
many times have we seen kids come in there and say, you know what, we're actors too, and we were looking at them like, really good. What kind of work are you putting in? Because we're working these shifts and then going home or staying late and staying up and studying, for something that we're doing at 9 in the morning the next morning, or 10 in the morning the next morning, or you know what I mean? And it's like one of those things. You used to tell me something that would get on my nerves. It's like, oh, I'm just writing your coattails. It's like, no, you're not. Like, you inspire me. You inspired me, dude.
well, okay. You know what? Let's you, Jorge, what I respect about you the most was the fact that if for those for your audience members listening, Jorge is a very hardworking person, and I mean, I don't want to start kissing each other's butts here, but like
But
Jorge is a
this is the
very
platform to do it because no one's going to tell us not to.
fair. Okay, Jorge is a very hard worker. Like I admired his tenacity and his drive, and because of his drive to do a lot of TV and film work, I was inspired by that, and that's what got me on that trail as well. As theater is still going for me, I said, you know what? Let me give a whack and a shot at TV and film, and I can probably say that both Jorge and I both exist in um the Blacklist universe.
We do.
Uh, yeah, I mean, we were both on that show, not at the same
Yeah.
time, but we both exist, and that for
We
me,
both exist on that. Yeah.
both that for me is a prize. That's the gift, that we
Yeah.
both exist. So the next goal is for Jorge and I to exist in the Marvel universe.
I would love that.
Oh my God.
I would love that. I would love to be in the Marvel universe. I just don't know in what capacity or like what I would want to be in. There's so many cool shows coming out in the Marvel universe.
Yeah.
Like Disney Plus, when Disney Plus first came out, like I was kind of like, I don't know about this. But then I started watching Disney Plus with the kid, and I'm
Mhm.
like, man, the Mandalorian's awesome. And like
Oh yeah, yeah.
these other
There,
like the WandaVision that's coming out, and the Falcon and Winter Soldier that's coming out looks
I know.
awesome. Like I'm just like, dude, like they're creating opportunities for people that look like us. You know what I mean? Like that was never done before in superhero
Oh
movies.
yeah. Did you see they're developing Ms. Marvel?
Yes, with the Latina. Was it
Yes.
Latino or is it no,
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 no, no.
Indian?
It's an Indian
Indian.
actress. Yep. Yep.
Yes.
And She-Hulk is a POC.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um.
It's amazing.
Also, I would love to share the DC universe with you.
Man, any of those superhero universes, because
Oh.
it's just being in a comic book universe
Hmm.
just is something I never thought I would be able to do.
Right.
I would love to do
Oh
that.
yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Same.
Like I mean, I don't know about you, but I was like, I've always wanted to be in a comic book universe or like a Lord of the Rings universe. And I know Lord of the Rings has got that show on Amazon coming out, but
I
there's
know.
no way I'm gonna be in that show.
Well, I mean,
It depends on what route they're going, and I
right.
could be a troll.
I was gonna say I wanted to be an orc.
I would be an orc.
I'd be an orc. I'd be fine
That'd
with
be
that.
kind of fun.
You would be awesome as a dwarf.
I would love to be a dwarf. I have a beard.
Yeah, I don't.
I watched the Hobbit movies. Well, I mean, you can grow one. I'll lend you mine.
Okay, thanks.
It's
We trade
removable.
off. I'll
You
do
try
Monday, Wednesday, Fridays. You do Tuesday, Thursdays,
that works for me.
and we'll flip
It's
for
a
Sundays.
it's a pain to shave.
Oh, and and it's me being such an a hole, not considering how much care you must do for it. Like
I
I'm
don't
here,
care for it much at all. I just I let it grow out.
but
You
it works
know.
for you, man. You look great.
Thank you. It makes me feel I'm mature. I'm a father now. You know.
Is that what it takes the beard?
Yeah, I think
Oh,
that just legitimizes it all.
I think you would also be really great in the Star Wars universe.
That would be cool. I just don't know how or when, and it's hit or miss. For me with Star Wars, I've never been a big Star Wars fan.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
I did like the new movies. I know a lot of people hated on the new movies,
Uh,
the whatever. I didn't mind them. I thought they were fun. But
yeah,
then
they were.
again, I'm not a huge Star Wars fan, so I really I couldn't be like, well, actually, they shouldn't have done this because Ray wouldn't, just dicked over Quinn, and I'm like, I don't. I,
Did you know Freddie Prinze Jr., who's been a huge Star Wars fan, and he's been on multiple like animated Star Wars, the
mm,
Clone Wars and all that.
mm-hmm.
He full out front out called out Star Wars fans and says, "You guys know nothing about the Star Wars universe, and you guys can't go around dictating like, oh, this is not canon, this is not canon. It's George Lucas. He could do whatever he
Yeah, he
wants."
makes up the canon. It's like saying like that's not Shakespeare. Like Shakespeare would never do that. And Shakespeare's writing something. I'm like, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like, get out of here.
that's why. That's
Uh,
why you seen the memes about how like the Star Wars fans are the true reason why the Star Wars franchise has been quote unquote tanking. It's
yeah,
because of them. It's because of them. They want to once again cancel culture, right? Oh
good.
yeah,
It goes
I don't,
both ways. Yeah,
yeah. It's like, oh, I don't like Ray the character. I don't like Finn and Kelly Marie Tran. Once I'm bringing her
Finn.
up.
I said Quinn. Finn.
Oh, I know. We all knew what you
Yeah,
meant.
yeah.
It's just like with Kelly Marie Tran after
Like
her
I didn't get the outrage about her. Like, why were people mad about her? I don't understand. Like, what
it,
was the
well,
big deal?
it's the internet, man. It's a playing ground for trolls and toxicity, and a lot of these idiots don't realize that when you cancel one thing, it also ruins it for others who want to.
Everything. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's very true. There was, oh man, I just blanked out on the one other thing that we're like going about the cancel culture, blah blah blah. Man, I totally blanked out on that. Yeah, we were talking about about Star Wars.
Star Wars, cancel culture, Kelly Marie Tran,
Kelly Marie Tran,
Quinn, not Finn, but not Finn,
Finn.
but Quinn.
Yeah, yeah, man. I really don't know. I mean, it would be really cool to do something like that. Is that what you would like to do?
I'm me. You've known me.
Yeah.
I'm open to doing whatever roles and being in part of whatever rules. I would like to create my own career, but be as long has the longevity of Danny Trejo.
That guy's
That
yeah, he's like a good human being too.
yeah,
Like
just
everybody, like there was like this one, um, like there's a trend on TikTok where this girl says, if you have some kind of weird celebrity beef, like just some random celebrity beef, let me know. And some people say like, yeah, like Machine Gun Kelly tried to get tough with me. I'm a bouncer at this club, and him and his boys, and we took care of them and whatever. And like other people say this, and this one lady said, what, Danny Trejo, he uh he gave me the wrong number on purpose. I was doing costumes wardrobe and I needed his number for sizing, and he's like, oh no, call me on my house. And she calls and like the voicemail comes on, and then he's like, I got you. It's like some silly joke, or he gave her the wrong number, but he was just being silly. And he's like, this guy is like the nicest guy on earth, he's like,
it really
and he
happened.
yeah, like he played a little joke on the costumer, or the wardrobe person that was trying to get the sizing information, because how they call a couple days before, like they
Yeah.
ask you like, oh, what is your coat size, hat? Why do they always ask for hat size? I've been asked every job that I've worked what my hat size is and glove size, and I've never worn a hat or gloves that needed sizing.
It's just part of the routine, I guess. It's costuming. I mean, it's like they got to know all the sizes. It makes sense.
Yeah, no. I mean, if it was particular to that show or that character, like, oh yes, I'm gonna wear a top hat on a construction site. You know, like or maybe a fitted hat, maybe a baseball hat, maybe a fitted hat, maybe,
Maybe you never know.
maybe,
You
but glove size. You know, I'm not gonna go on a duel.
or you might be a private security with a baseball cap and gloves.
They give me snapbacks, man.
Oh, there you go. There you go.
Every time I've worn a hat for security, like characters, it's a snapback.
Oh, lucky
Cheaper.
you.
It's cheaper.
It's cheaper.
Yeah, man.
I don't think I've ever worn. The only time I ever worn a hat for
Worn it once.
oh well, what was it for? Was it plane security?
Yeah, I think it was like the armored car job
Oh, okay,
in
blacklist, right?
FBI.
Oh, an FBI.
FBI.
Oh,
Yeah,
FBI. Okay.
I
I
drove an armored truck, an armored car.
Did you really drive it? Oh, you
Yeah,
did really drive it. Oh my
yeah.
God! Didn't have a stunt sit in for you,
No,
dude?
no. It was just like all I had to do was drive it straight. It's it.
Oh, okay.
It wasn't like I was like, oh, I'll get to like speed away and everything. It was like driving in like a moving van, basically.
Oh, nice. They
Hmm.
gave me when I was in Manifest as a cop. And I had one line which they cut.
Hmm.
I don't care. They had a stuntman dressed as a cop, and the guy was giving me the run through of what I need to do and learn how to do things as a cop. I was like, oh, this is great.
Yeah,
Like, okay,
yeah.
that's awesome.
You
But
have to be
they gave
really
me a
careful
hat
with that
too.
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially like when they have like weapons and stuff. It's kind of
Mhm.
cool to see how they break down the weapons and like they'll show you like this is a live round, this is a blank, this is live blank. You know what I mean? Stuff like that. It's really cool. And it's like one of the many facets of being on a working TV or movie set is just like the other jobs on set. It's always really fascinating to me, like what the prop masters and like the weapons people, the stunt people do. And I remember I've worked with a few stunt crews where they have to do like stunt stuff and like man, those guys like they roll in with their duffel bags and they're like, they're machine, those massagers, the machine massagers to like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
like just get loosened up and everything. And I'm like, these guys are hardcore. And
Mhm.
when I was doing Blacklist, that's when the whole like group were stunt guys. And they were talking about the different knee pads that they would use and like the specialized like elbow pads that they would have for like their stunt stuff. And I was like, this is so fascinating. It's like a culture. It's a really, really
Oh yeah.
cool, it's a really cool community.
Mhm.
Um, but going back to Equinox, so COVID-19 has hit
Yes.
and we're talking about working on TV sets. No one has worked much on TV sets because of COVID-19,
Hmm.
but the gyms have opened up, right? What's the
Yes.
climate like right now in with the gyms? Are they really closing at 10 or are they limiting capacity and how do you do that?
Well, yeah, hours have been shifted back. So instead of 5:30 a.m., we're opening at 6.
That's
We're shutting down other, instead of shutting down at 11, we're shutting down at 9 now. Weekends are shut down even further. Like Fridays are 8 o'clock and weekends are 7 o'clock now.
Mhm, mhm.
Capacity is 33% per square foot.
How do you manage that?
So we got people walking the floors, and we also the new check-in system allows us to keep a track number of people who are in the building. So they have to do a count constantly. So they have people patrolling the floors, counting and then they come down to the front desk to see how many people checked in the building. And it's usually it's never been more than 100. You know,
So
um,
people have been following the guidelines pretty well.
you have to think about it, right? They don't
Yeah.
want to shut down. They don't want to shut it down, so that they're going to follow the rules. And
And
I
there's
think
always one maverick or so, right?
there's actually been
Yeah.
two, including one guy. Oh no, I can actually say about three or four. But there was always a fight with the masks. Some people that were like right here,
Yeah, man.
and it's like, what do you? Are
Yeah.
you not think? And then when you look at them, they go, "Sir," and they're like, "Oh, yeah, yeah. I'm so sorry. I'm so
Yeah.
sorry." And then there was one guy who refused to get his temperature taken because he didn't want lasers in his head, and I said,
We're
"But
gonna
you have,
implant chips in your head. Okay,
but you
Alex
have
Jones.
wireless headphones.
Yeah.
Like, I know that's not lasers, but how are you allowing yourself to listen, like use wireless headphones? It made no sense.
Yeah.
Um, and there's been people there's been people. I mean, I don't care who hears this, but there was we have we have spare masks, and we had, because we're now out, but the guy comes in without a mask, and he told the front desk, "Can I have a mask?" And they kindly told him, like, "Sir, this is a one-time courtesy." And he goes, "Listen, I pay for membership. I should be getting free masks." And we're like,
But here's the thing. I'm not surprised.
"I
I'm
know."
not. Remember when these guys complain about the razors that we would give them for
Oh,
free?
mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? They're complaining. Like, what do you want? Like a barber back there shaving your head for you? Like, seriously, like
Oh no, yeah,
people
it's
are,
they'll entitled the entitled will find anything they can complain
yeah.
about. You know,
You give
um,
them an inch, and they want a yard.
more like a mile. I mean, just like,
Yeah, yeah,
uh,
yeah.
but yeah, I mean, otherwise, everybody's been very compliant with
How
keeping
is that with spin classes?
no classes.
That's got to be amazing. Amazing.
Yes,
I
it is.
hated spin classes. I hated that whole cult of spin. And yes, if you're doing spin classes, you're in a cult. I don't care. Seriously, spin class. Like I never got that. I remember one like it was like my first Memorial weekend. I worked there. It was like 2014 Labor Day weekend. No. It was Memorial weekend. It was my first Memorial weekend. So that was May. I just graduated grad school, and this is the first time. This is like my like real first good taste of what I was to look forward to in the next couple years working there. Was a person called and they said, "Hey, I need you to save me a bike for tomorrow's spin class at a certain time."
Uh,
And I was like, okay, Joe member, then we can't do that because you have to be here in person and, or you got to do it online, the same old protocol. We sound like robots. Like, no, the website is broken and I need to do this and I need you to do this for me. And I'm like, I can't do that. There's no possible way to do this. He's like, listen, I'm calling from my beach house in the Hamptons right now. I'm not with my family. And I'm like, dude, if you're calling from your beach house in the Hamptons, you could probably afford your own Peloton bike. So just like get your own bike. But
exactly.
just to say that I'm at my beach house in the Hamptons,
Oh, it was always a
do this favor for me.
it was always a measuring game. It was like, I'm calling you from my suburban on my way to the airport.
Yeah.
I gotta fly out tonight to Paris for a meeting.
A meeting. Yeah. You know what my favorite, some of my, like, what people don't realize at like these luxury gyms is the members that come in and out of there. Celebrities go in there and some are
Yeah.
super cool, but some of my favorite moments, and this happened to me, I would say three times for sure. Three times has happened where a person would come up out from the street, come in from the street, come to the front desk and say, "Hey, is this a gym?" And I'd say, "Yeah." They're like, "Okay, cool, cool, cool. Am I a member here?" And I would be like, "I don't know. Do you have like a card?" He's like, "No." I give you my name. I was like, "Do you have a photo ID?" Like, yeah, yeah, here. They're not fighting. They're just cool about it. I look them up and I confirm their information. It's like, "Are you live at so and so address?" I was like, "Yeah, yeah, that's me." He's like, "Yeah, you have an active membership." He's like, "This is like it's always a he." You know what I mean? It's always a he, and he's like, "Uh, shit. How long have I been a member for?" And I go back, and it's like 3 years. He's like, "Oh shit." And I've been paying. How much have I been paying? I was like, $220. Hmm. No shit. And I'm just like preparing myself like for the fight. It's like, wait a minute. Like I didn't do this. This was like this is I never signed up for that. And this literally happened 3 times. They're like, oh, okay, maybe I should start coming then. And they walked away. Walked away. And then one time, they said, "Hey, can you check to see if my wife is a member here too?" And I'm like, "I really can't," but I broke protocol and I checked, and she was a member too. They had not been into the gym but once. That one time that they checked in that first time, and so they were spending about $440 a month for
Wow.
like 2 years. 2 years to have that kind of money and not even
Not put it up.
notice it missing from your account for years
Wow.
has got to be a great feeling. Do you know what I mean? Like just to know, like, and I'm just like, dude, if you didn't notice this money was going missing, I would check everybody who has access to your finances because you are probably getting robbed
Oh,
blind.
absolutely.
You know what I mean? It's
It's
so crazy. Or it's one of the other things that I loved about the gym was like, how we had to do the names? Like he's like, "Oh, hey Bill," or "Hey Bob," or "Hey Susie," or whatever it is. And you check them in, and it's kind of like, "Hey, famous person," but you don't
oh yeah.
recognize their faces, and it's like a famous author. I'm like, and my favorite was Malcolm Gladwell. Always going in there. I'm like, "Hey, Malcolm Gladwell, I'm doing my 10,000 hours of something."
He's a cool guy.
Super sweet, man. I would annoy him all the time because I'd always ask him about his podcast.
He got nervous, right before everything went down. I saw him. I go, I love your work, and he goes, oh, thank you.
Yeah.
I go, you probably get bombarded with a lot of people here, don't you? He's like,
Yeah, he's like, there was this one guy who used to
there
work
was this
here.
one guy at the front desk.
He was a
Um,
Hispanic fella, kind of
actually,
chubby with the beard.
oh no, stop.
I was gonna get a restraining order on him.
Yeah, he was following me home.
I actually saw him in the street and we talked for a little bit.
Oh, he remembers you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Good.
yeah.
But you're unforgettable. Why would I say something stupid
I
like that?
mean, you would think.
Did I ever tell you the story about how I duped Lenny Kravitz?
Oh, that's amazing.
So we had a member, and this is before everything went down. We had the guest list, guest pass policy, and all that shit. And it was 6 a.m. in the morning. This member, he knew people in the industry, and so he told me, "Oh, I'm bringing a guest tomorrow. Do I have any guest passes?" I'm like, "Yeah, you do." He's like, "All right, cool. I'm bringing a friend tomorrow." I'm like, "Okay, cool. Just make sure your friend brings photo ID." He's like, "Perfect." Next morning, I'm like dead. In comes the member, and in comes this gentleman with
Was he a
sunglasses,
million scarves?
with a million scarves. He had a really big scarf on, actually. Now that you
Of
mentioned
course.
it, walked in. I'm like, oh, it's Lenny Kravitz. My coworker didn't know because she's too young. She's like, oh, I don't know who that was. So he comes up and I go, oh, hi sir, can I see your photo ID? He's like, oh, yeah, sure. Hands it, and he goes, wait, is this New York Sports Club? And his friend, the member, goes, yeah, Lenny, I told you we're going to New York Sports Club. And he looks at me, and goes, I'm like, so I play along with it. He's like, yeah, you're at New York Sports Club. I told you we're going to go to New York Sports Club today to work out. And he goes, but I don't have a membership here. I can't come here. And he's like, Lenny, I told you I'm bringing you to this gym today. I go, yeah, sir, you're at New York Sports Club. I can't let you in unless you have a membership. We went on for about fucking 5-6 minutes messing with him, all because I was following what the member was going with. And we finally said, he goes, Lenny, I'm kidding. We're Equinox. And he's like,
It's like, man.
guys. And he puts his hands on his head. I'm like, I feel so bad we messed with Lenny.
That's amazing. You know, you know, with those the celebs, has there ever been one that you're kind of like, like I'm gonna let you in even though you're not a member? I did that once with Sean Wayans. Sean Wayans, he came in.
Somebody brought that story up. Now that you mention it.
Yeah. And I was like, dude, you don't have a membership here. You only have like the limited access. I can't remember the terms. Like it's select. You select. And I was like, but dude, you had such a huge impact on my childhood and like my acting career. Like you're my guest for today. And he's like, really, man? I can pay the 35. No, no, dude. Like it's on me. Like you really you don't be a menace to South Central while drinking your juice in the hood. Like I can quote that movie left and right. Like his family did so much for comedy, and I'm like, you're in. Go ahead. I did that, yeah, for Sean Wayans.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I don't work there anymore, so I can't get fired. They're probably gonna send me a bill for $35.
A whole $35. Yeah. Did I ever tell you the time that I almost denied Matthew Broderick?
Oh man,
because I didn't recognize him.
Bueller.
He even gave me that look. He goes, excuse me,
I'm Matthew Broderick.
I don't have my ID on me. And I was like, I didn't look at him. I looked up and I didn't look at him first. I go, oh, do you have a photo ID, sir? I mean, do you have anything on you that's identification? And he just stood there, looked at me like, and my coworker who knew who he was like, I'll check him in, Viet. It's fine. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Just because don't pull that stunt.
Yeah.
Don't pull that stunt.
One of our coworkers, man, was checking in a young lady, and it was funny because they're asking this person, but they're so freaking nervous who this person was, and I'm blanking out right now. Hold on. Hold on.
Was it Jodie Foster?
No. It was not Jodie Foster. I can't remember the coworker. I'm not even going to call him out. So she goes, what's your, it wasn't a she, the member's like, she's like, my name's in here. It should be under Ann. And they're like, Ann, so what's your last name? Our coworker says it's Hathaway. Uh, how do you spell that? And I'm like, she's like Hat, and the person is starting to sweat profusely, and they're like couldn't get it. They were just couldn't get their shit together because it was Anne Hathaway.
Oh God.
And I'm like, "Whoa, it's okay. I got it. I got it." And so I checked her in, and couldn't have been the sweetest person. They were the Anne Hathaway was the sweetest person on earth.
Oh, good, good.
And then our coworker was kind of off to the side. Was like, "Did you see who that was?" I'm like, "Yeah, man, but you can't like spaz out like that. It's gonna ruin my game. It's my rep."
Wait, I got a spazzing
And you know
story.
what was cool about Anne Hathaway though?
What?
Is that she was one of the celebs that paid for her memberships.
Oh,
She didn't get a free one.
Kiefer Sutherland paid for his membership too.
Good.
I mean, that's good. I had.
Actually, Kiefer Sutherland's dating my friend's sister.
You're kidding me.
Mm-mm.
Dating? I thought he was married.
They might be married. Yeah,
Oh,
pretty much. Yeah.
all right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I had a moment where one Ray Fiennes was
Oh,
coming in.
Voldemort.
Yes, Lord Voldemort, and he was coming in to work out, and there was a kid at the front desk who was a huge Harry Potter fan, and he purposely switched his shift because he knew he was coming in. I'm like, that's okay, dude.
That's
I'm like,
amazing.
no. I go, dude.
You
Don't
can't
freak
be
out,
weird
right?
about it. Yeah.
I go, it's very weird. And he goes like, oh, I won't freak out. I'm not like that. I'm not like that. I'm not like that. I'm like, you just repeated yourself 3 times, but okay, don't freak out. Okay, don't make a big scene out of it. Okay, cool. He's like, yeah, got it. It was Halloween. He had a mask on, so I was in costume and everything because we're trying to be festive. And in comes Rafe, and he's like, hello, Viet. And then I was like, hey, how are you doing today?
I love it.
The kid does this. I'm not kidding. He does this. Takes the mask off. My lord. And Rafe just goes,
I want to cancel my membership.
he just stares at him. He just nods. And I go, he's a fan.
Yeah.
And then,
Dude, it's kind of hard sometimes. Like it's just like it's like that gym in particular. Like we have. I mean, you and I can go on and on about like just the crazy stuff that happens, like the arguments we get into, the random people that come in off the street, and throughout all that, in will pop a random celebrity, and you're like, oh wow, look who's here. Like, remember Will Ferrell walked in, and like Will Ferrell walked in, and he got past me. I didn't even know he had gotten in. And like, did you see Will Ferrell? I'm like, I've been at the front desk this whole time. And then whoever I was working with said, I didn't see him. He got in, he was on the treadmill.
yeah.
He's a member, but I'm just like, how the heck did he get in? And probably, I think the spa person checked him in, but like, like it's one of those things. And like one more, like, I know you got a meeting, right? You have to go to.
We're good. We're good.
Okay. Was David Blaine showed up once, and he was asking about like his membership. And I was like, do you have your photo ID? And he's kind of a weird dude. And this is one of like my dumbass moments in life, man. I looked at him and I was like, do you have a photo ID? And he just like was drinking a smoothie. He was like this. He was just like, if you're watching, you see me, I have my cup and I have a straw. If you're not watching, I have a cup and a straw. And he just takes a sip and he's like, straight face, shakes no. And I'm like, okay. And I look at him and I don't even know why I did this like a moron. I start grabbing my pocket thinking his ID would be in there. Yeah, like a moron. You know what I think? He's going to do one of his magic tricks. And he just looks at me and he's like, I was like, it's David Blaine, right? And he's like, can I check it? And I was like, yeah, you're good over there in LA or whatever. And he walks out toward the entrance. I'm so embarrassed. He takes another sip from his smoothie. He looks back at me and he's like, he just shakes his head. And
are you serious?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. I'm an idiot.
Wait, question for you.
I thought he was going to do a magic trick, and I was like, oh.
If he was a true magician, he would have just appeared in the gym and not walk through the doors.
Exactly. He would have just like, abracadabraed himself into the
hocus pocus is
deadlift platform.
Absolutely doing curls. How many? Okay, name. I mean, this is really bad, but name how many celebrities. The name of celebrities you've met at the club.
How many celebrities?
Name. Yeah, name the celebrities.
Here's a fun one. I was when I first started working there was this nice guy. He was like a cool dude. We'd say hello. It was right before my shift would start, so I'd work out before. Like, so if I worked at like 4 or 5, I would work out at 3. Right. So this guy would come in. He would say, "Hey man, what's going on?" And we would talk. And he's like, "Okay, good, man. Well, I'm sorry, I just hit my mic." He's like, "Oh yeah, you have a good workout." And yeah, so he'd go and he'd run like 8, 10 miles. He'd be like giving thumbs up, and just super sweetheart, like just a really cool guy. We'd talk and chit chat every day, right? He ends up leaving. I just stopped seeing him, and I start watching Gilmore Girls, right? And I have a Stars Hollow poster right above my head, so don't judge, okay? And we get to like the season where Rory is in college at Yale,
Oh my
and
god.
lo and behold, Rosa and I are watching this together, and this guy appears in the show.
Huh.
And we were watching real quiet. I'm like, "Oh my God." And Rosa's like, "What the heck?" And I'm like, "What the hell?" She's like freaking out. Like, what? Like, she heard me yell. I'm like, "I know him." And she's like, "Who?" I was like, "Him, that guy, Logan Huntsberger. I know him. I would talk to him every single day at Equinox, and I had no clue who he was.
Oh
No
shit.
clue whatsoever. Matt
Wow.
Zucri was his name.
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah,
would
yeah,
call
yeah.
him Matt. I say, "Hey, Matt, what's up, Matt?" I didn't know who the hell he was. I thought he was just some nice dude who liked to run and like to chit chat and encourage me in my workouts.
Yeah, he
Very
kept
low
going.
key, nice guy.
Yeah, very nice guy. There's some celebrities who are like that.
Yep.
You know
Ray
who's like
Allen was cool too. Remember, you'd
huh?
pop in. Do you remember Ray Allen was friends with that one member? It would come in every now and then. There was a big, tall, white guy. There was a basketball player. And Ray Allen, the basketball player, showed
Yeah.
up, and I was working out, and he sat next to me in the locker room. And it was like 8 in the morning, and I sat down next to him, and he's like, "How you doing, man?" And I'm told him, "I'm just trying to wake up, man. I'm kind of tired." He's like, "Well, you know what? Let me tell you what. Let me tell you what. Let me tell you what. There's alarm clocks all up there, man. You go up there, those alarm clocks will get you going. You go up there and you get it. All right? You make the day of it." And I'm like, "Thank you, Ray Allen. That's what I needed today." I was inspired because of Ray Allen's alarm clocks analogy of the
That,
gym.
that was amazing.
Yeah. There's alarm clocks up there. All right. All right, my man. You get up there and you do it. I was like,
Now,
"Yes."
did you ask him to reach for those alarm clocks because he's so tall?
I was like, "Can you get something from my locker?" I'm too short. It's like, "Do you play basketball? You're so tall."
Like, do you play a sport? Are you a football
Are you
player?
you're tall? Do you play basketball? They always tell tall people, like, "Do you
Are
play
you
basketball?"
are you a hockey player? I can't put my finger on it. You must play a sport.
You must play it. He's like, "No, I just
I ever tell you
inspire. I
Sean
inspire
William
young men." Hmm?
Sean William Scott was a member?
Yeah, you were pals with him, weren't you?
I went
You're friendly. You're friendly. He went to your show or
we're
something like that.
yes, he literally came up to like the multitude of times he came into the gym. He literally, I'm not kidding you, would come into the desk and he would chit chat with the front desk
Hmm.
just for the hell of it, and he was so cool about it.
That's
And then
amazing.
when some of the girls caught wind, they were purposely trying to get with him and everything, and I was like, what? And then
Yeah.
one day I remember I feel bad about this, but at the same time I don't. I spoiled this one girl's plan. She was like, I'm gonna try to get Sean William Scott to hang out with me, and then she was talking to him, and I just finished watching Southland Tales, that movie they did with The Rock and
Yeah.
Sean
Yeah.
Scott. It was a wild movie, but I really enjoyed it. I ran up to the front desk, still sweating and like finishing my work. I go, dude, Southland Tales, amazing job.
Yeah.
And he was shocked. He looked at me like, you watched it? I go, yeah, man, great job,
I had
great
an
job.
amazing situation like that too.
And the girls looking at me like giving me such a really bad look, or like you ruined our spot. I go, dude, and I didn't care. I was like, dude, really? And I was being genuinely honest.
Yeah.
Southland Tales was a crazy movie, but I really enjoyed it. I said,
Yeah.
good job. And it was
Yeah.
also the one of the Rock's early films where you really saw him exercising his acting ability.
I
I
love The
said,
Rock.
anybody watch Southland Tales and watch the Rock's performance, he he really did a lot of he did his homework with
Yeah.
that film. But anyways, yeah. And then I invited Sean William Scott to watch one of a play I did, and he came to watch it, and he was so enthralled. He was like, "Wow, how'd you memorize all those lines?" I go,
I hate that when people like do family members ask you that, or people that are non-theater people? It's like, how did you memorize all those lines?
"Well, we get that, but
Yeah,
I was
it's
expecting it
hilarious.
coming from an actor." And
Yeah, was
I
he
go,
like yanking your chain or like
"No,
just
he
being
was
silly?
genuine. No, he was genuine because
That's amazing.
he explained to me. He goes like, "Well, TV film, we have multiple takes and we can always reshoot." I go,
Yeah, dude.
yeah. And I go, yeah. So I rehearsed 5 days a week. I rehearsed 5 hours a day, and we had 3 weeks to rehearse it. And he's like, wow, that's
Yeah,
cool. Yeah.
yeah, man. I liked him. He's. I really hope that he can get back into it. You know,
Well,
it's cyclical. This career is so cyclical, man.
yeah, and but he, out of everybody, I remember watching something about how out of everybody from the cast of American Pie, he's the only one that really had a pretty like good long stretch of a career, and
Yeah,
he's still doing it from time to time. He does a couple
yeah,
indie films here and there.
yeah.
He was also in It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah,
as Country Mac.
that's true. Yeah, no, that's true. Like he had him and the young lady that was in Russian Doll and Orange is the New Black. Um,
Yes,
I forget her name.
I forget her name too. She
I'm
was in
blanking
there
on her.
too. But also,
Um,
what's her name from? She was in Buffy. She played.
I think she was
Yeah, forgot. She's also in How I Met Your Mother.
Allison Hannigan.
Allison Hannigan. Yeah,
Yeah, she.
Allison Hannigan.
There's a couple that have done some pretty good stuff there.
Mhm.
Tara Reid, not so much.
Well,
You know. Yeah,
Tower. Well, no, Tari was in Sharknado.
that's true. That's
Yeah, with
that changed.
with
That changed culture.
that did with
It
a
really
one
did.
Ian Ziering.
Yeah, from 90210. It's amazing.
Ian Ziering.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, dude, there's so many like crazy times yeah, the celebrities were pretty cool. I've never like Alec Baldwin was one that surprised me in being like actually really nice to me whenever I was there. He was always a sweetheart. And then you would hear about him getting into trouble outside of Equinox, like around the corner on 10th Street, or like getting in some confrontation, but like he was always nice to everybody
You
at
have
the
to think
gym.
about it
And he
though.
would stop and talk to us.
He is a generally nice guy. It's I purposely after the experience I had with him at the club, he it's not him. It's the paparazzi.
I think people just get in his business too much.
Absolutely, and that's
Yeah.
it's understandable.
Yeah, I get that too. I know I've worked with some people um that if I say that I worked with a certain actor or a comedian and they said they met them on the street, that people say, "Oh yeah, I heard he's a dick," or "I heard they're a dick," and I would listen to that, but then I would say, you know what? Okay, how are they a dick? And like, are they a dick because you didn't get what you wanted from them? If you ask them for a picture and they're
Right.
with their children and they said no, how about just a handshake and they walk on? That are they assholes for that? Like these actors, they come into the gym and like when Anderson Cooper would go in there, he was kind of a jerk, sometimes. And I'm not lying, like he was never friendly with the front desk. He would never say hello. He was always reserved. And before, people start saying Anderson Cooper's a god, I mean, yeah, he's a human too, and so are we. So he would never acknowledge us at the front desk. He would never acknowledge the maintenance people. But then I kind of wonder, is he like that because throughout his like last 15, 20 years, were people really overly obnoxious with him? Because I know that there was other celebrities where they would be working out and all of a sudden they check their phone and there's notifications where people are taking pictures of them while they're working out. So maybe Anderson Cooper was like that, because maybe the gym that we're at is kind of a flirtatious gym,
Oh yeah.
with a certain community, and maybe that's probably why it's just like I want to have just the like the blinders they put on horses. Just I'm gonna get in, do my thing, and leave. Whereas like David Muir, the guy
Yeah.
from ABC News, the sweetest person on earth. It was like one of my favorite members. He would always come in, say hello with a smile, acknowledge everybody as he walked by, even if he was busy on a phone call, because this guy is busy, 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 but he was always nice, always, always nice, and always just in a good spirit. You know what I mean? I've never seen him be a jerk to a single human being. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I really like to see that, like the people that you see on TV or that see that, like it's just like you see them treat not just other members that are at his economic level,
Hmm.
one way, and then treats like maybe maintenance one way or front end, like he treated everybody with respect. And I really appreciated that. And Alec Baldwin was the same way.
Yeah.
He treated everybody with respect, and a lot of these celebs would do that, and a lot of them just stayed to themselves. Some of them are just kind of shy. You'd be surprised how shy some of these people, like Ray Fiennes, like you would never expect such a powerful actor to be just kind of reserved and to himself, and it's crazy. It's
Hmm.
crazy. It's one of those, like I said, like Equinox taught me a lot of things. It also taught me that whenever I got into a huge fight with a member, that I was going to book something. There was always this moment where like things started getting escalated about something. You didn't say my spin bike or blah blah blah. You're a liar. You got to do this for me. And they start calling me an idiot. And I want to talk to your manager. I turn around and say, "Well, I'm the manager. I'm in charge right now." And it would just be one of those things. And meanwhile, like I'm getting mad, but then all of a sudden, midway through this little argument, I start thinking to myself, "Wait a minute, am I going to book something?" Because usually when there's an altercation, I book something, and
You should have purposely started fights with everybody.
but then it wouldn't work that way.
I know. I know. I know.
It's like then Back to the Future. You can't change your history or your future. You know
True.
what I mean? So like I let it happen. I let nature take its course. Sometimes you gotta step in a little dog shit. Sometimes and walk through the rain. Before you see a rainbow. You got to go through the
That's very good.
storm to see a rainbow. You know what I mean? And there's certain people on this earth that I've been blessed to meet and to have in my life and to look back at and see as a positive example. And you're one of those people, man. And it's really amazing that I think everybody should know Viet Vo, and I think they will,
Oh.
because when it comes to like you're a very eccentric kind of person. You're the kind of guy you're doing like spinning kicks and jumping on walls and stuff and yelling and singing in the middle of a quiet gym.
Yeah, I was singing.
But you're also the first person to help when asked, and stay late when you don't want to, and always knowing that you have another project you could be focusing on, yet you're there to help a friend in need, always, 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 always. And for that, I think you're gonna go places. And I think any young woman would be lucky to have a person like you in their life, and your mom should be proud.
My mom is bro. Jorge, I live by a philosophy. On that note, I
Cash
live by
rules
I live,
everything around me.
yes, cash. Yes, cash rules everything.
Cream
Cream. Wu Tang is forever.
forever.
I am a firm believer that you are who you are because of the people you've met,
Yeah,
and there's
me
bringing
too.
up
I agree.
show tunes. I have been changed for good, which is from the
Oh,
musical
wicked.
Wicked.
The wicked.
Yo,
We're bringing around O Town.
O Town. But yeah, I'm a better person. I am a person who I am today because of the people I've met. So for that, I thank you, Jorge.
Oh
Uh,
man.
you inspire me in ways that you don't think you do, but you do.
Well, man, I appreciate that. It really means a lot. And you know, I you know what? Like it's just the kindness, thing. And it's just one of those things that I see kindness in you, and I see, the goodness in you. And I know people are saying like, okay, guys, quit, patting each other on the backs. But like seriously, like during this pandemic, one thing that has opened my eyes the most is that there's certain people that I see making it through this pandemic on the other side a much better person despite whatever happens. And you're one of those people. You're
Oh,
going to work, you're going to bust your tail. Like I said, we would see so many kids go into that front desk saying that, well, we're going to be actors, we're going to be actors, and they're out within a month, 2 months, a year, because they can't handle the pressure, or the work is just too much for them.
Hmm.
We embrace the suck, and that's just like one of the things you got to do, man.
Wow,
And
that's
like this is, what is this, a marathon, not a sprint.
agreed.
And it's more like a freaking Spartan race where they're throwing in fires and mud pits and like every end of pandemic now. And with that being said, I see the news, and I don't think New York is a ghost town like our crazy president says, but there's just such uncertainty because of COVID. And if they
Yeah.
keep shutting down businesses, they keep messing with hours, that could affect, you know, your livelihood, and not just your livelihood, but people there in that industry, and the fitness industry and the gym. I know several members, or I mean, trainers have lost clients
Hmm.
because of the cancellation, the cancel culture, and also like the pandemic. And I
Hmm.
really hope that you take care of yourself out there, and good luck with. I don't know. Are there going to be lockdowns? Have they been saying anything?
I don't really think we're in a lockdown, but I mean, I'm always one to, I'll take an L. I don't care, but I don't think we're in a lockdown. I think if anything,
They're just
our
going to
government,
taper down.
it's going to taper down. I think it's going to taper down because plus it's getting colder, so people are going to be less likely to go out. Because the summertime was, summertime, but now that it's getting colder, people are going to, try to
Yeah,
bunker down and not do so much outdoors.
that's so
So I
crazy.
don't think we're in a lockdown.
Okay. Well,
We'll
that's
see.
good, man. I really hope there isn't a lockdown, but if there is, I hope you take care. You know what I mean,
Thank you,
and
sir.
keep in touch. Can we find you on social media anywhere?
Yeah, you can just find me on Instagram at Vopix. That's V as in Victor, OPIX.
And your OnlyFans is,
And yes, I have an OnlyFans. I sell pictures of my feet and my bald head.
man, I'm already subscribing. It's amazing stuff. Thank you, everybody, for watching. As always, you can find Jorge's Isolation Podcast on Instagram at Jorge's Isolation Podcast. That's JorgesIsolation Podcast. I'm not going to spell it all out for you. Don't be lazy. It's Jorge's Isolation Podcast. And I'm on YouTube under the channel Jorge Chapa. Please give it a subscribe on the channel, hit that like button, and on iTunes, Spotify, Google Play. Look it up. Thank you for joining me today, Viet, and
Thank
everyone
you.
watching and listening. I really appreciate it. I had a great time, and it was amazing catching up with you.
Pleasure's all mine, sir.
All right, man. You can stay on for just a second. I'm going to say goodbye to the folks. So, all right, everybody, take care, and we will see you next time.